Awesome. Welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. We are super excited to have Alysha here with us. She is a mother of three and author of Coming Home to Yourself. Inspired by many great minds and life experiences, she's passionate about helping people reconnect with themselves through reflection and practical activities, designed for all learning styles. She's shaped, and these are shaped by trauma and healing, and she shares her tools for resilience and living authentically. Alysha, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for us to get into it, let's just share some quick housekeeping rules. So, ladies, if you are here listening, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook and you have questions for Alysha, please put your questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as we share this topic today. And if you are tuning in for the first time and you have no idea what's going on with the Holistic Sister Circle, this is an opportunity for us to do spotlight features. So if you have a product or book, in Alysha's case, she's going to be sharing with us today, it gives her an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what that looks like. And then if you're interested, then you are more than welcome to reach out to her as well. So, Alysha, before we get too far in and we dive into this, I would just love to hear from you. What does it mean to come home to yourself? Let's start there.
Okay, so I guess it would mean to be your authentic, true self. So, not based on what society's normalities may be. So, you're basically loving everything for who you are, the good, the bad, the in between, and also finding yourself along the way.
Awesome. And I'm sure that you had to do a lot of this, hence, you wouldn't have written a book about it if you hadn't. So, tell us a little bit about what really inspired this journey and really just, you being able to document these moments and now share it with the world.
I think I've always been the type of person that have been a really big empath, and I've been able to spot when people are going through things because of the things that I have gone through in my past. I had to learn how to love myself, not only love other people. I found that I was my own biggest critic, and through my past traumas that I hadn't healed from, I had to learn how to get through those and realize that I was actually sleepwalking through my life.
Wow.
And so with these tools, they've helped me to wake up and start living. And I just wanted to put it out there in the world in hopes that it helps someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for those of you all who are just tuning in, letting you know again, this gives us an opportunity to connect with Alysha. So if you have questions, please add your questions to the chat. I'll be monitoring those questions as well as we're getting through today's topic. Alysha, this is such a powerful topic because a lot of the ladies who are part of the Holistic Sister Circle community, a lot of them are empaths. They are, ones that, and I include myself in this as well, because I remember there were times where I could essentially just feel other people's energy. And if someone was, carrying a lot of emotion, I could feel that. If someone was a bit standoffish or they're excited, I could feel that too. And I didn't realize that, just how we have a boundary when it comes to our finances. Like, we want to make sure we don't get below this particular amount of money every single month. We also have that same kind of boundary for energy. And I actually had to create boundaries for myself around my energy buckets. And I never understood what that meant in the past. But by me doing that, it allowed me to take what was for me. It allowed me to give away what I needed to, but also understand like where I'm burned out in this and where I actually need to call for help. So I'd love to just hear from you too, as you were really coming home to yourself. You talked a lot about just not necessarily loving yourself in a way or doing, for yourself in that way where maybe you have done for other people. What was that turning point for you? What made you decide to say, okay, like, enough is enough?
Yeah, so I had to do a lot of soul searching and realize that through my experiences that was happening to me, that I had to wake up and take responsibility for myself. I had to get to a really low point in my life where I felt that there was no return. And that's what made everything turn around for me personally. Everyone is different, so they could experience things in different ways. They could still probably be sleepwalking through their lives just with all the distractions that's happening. And until they have that wake up call, they hear something that it just may change their life, put it into a different perspective. So I've realized that through the 8 foundations of self love, we can really wake up to our true selves, your authentic self. So, what you're talking about before, the boundaries that you have and the energies that you build, that's actually a foundation of self love. So, that would come through your healthy boundaries. And so, through the book, it does discuss self awareness and self compassion. Also, your healthy boundaries, the self responsibility, which is the responsibility you owe to yourself on your healing journey, positive self talk, which can also lead into manifestation, visualization, which is really incredible. It dives really deep into that. Then you have your emotional regulations, your authenticity, so your true self, and your self care. So, through all those stages, it definitely supports you in realizing that, you know what, maybe I don't have it all together. But it also, we do go through a section which is called Permission to be Human. And it goes through that it's okay to not have it all together. It's a continuous journey. It's never going to stop. Even I know myself, like, I'm not perfect and I'm still learning. I still go through traumatic events and they're never going to end for your life. There's always going to be something that may happen. And so I guess really the basis of this book and helping me with my life too is having these tools to get through those moments that are really hard.
Would you mind sharing some of the moments that you had that were hard?
Yeah, definitely. So I do share stories throughout the book. And, I guess one of my most difficult times were the miscarriages that I experienced in my life. So that put me through a really spiraling scope down into dark depression. And I had a child at the time, don't get me wrong, and we were very blessed and fortunate and just thought, we're lucky to have one. But just through, I guess, the emotional trauma and the roller coaster of everything that happened, I actually felt so disconnected to my husband. He didn't even know what I was going through. I had to keep it a secret. And so I carried it alone and by myself. And through the deceitfulness of everything that happened, he could feel it, as people we know when something's not right. And,
Yeah.
He thought that I was having an affair, and I just ended up breaking down, telling him the truth. I had gone through 3 miscarriages, and it just distanced us so much to a point where I had to even distance myself from my firstborn child, and it caused a lot of separation anxiety. I wasn't aware that I was in such a codependent relationship just from things that had happened in my childhood, that when I went through this stage in my life of miscarriages, it broke me even more down as a person. So I really had to hit that rock bottom in order to come back up again.
Oh my gosh. Well, one,
Yeah.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think I cannot believe you went through all of that and your husband didn't even know.
Yes. So,
Like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, the biggest thing too, because I think I shared my story about this as well. I've had miscarriage as well. And I completely understand how you feel. And sometimes, you have your spouse there, but they don't really understand or they can't really relate because they're not the one that's actually physically going through it. I mean, obviously they have their own way of kind of handling the emotions, but very different on the level of you physically going through it. So, my heart goes out to you and everything and how you've experienced that. How did that impact your relationship with your husband and with your child, the one, of course, living? And then what were some of the things that you did in order to turn that around through some of the practices that you talk about in your book?
Yeah. So look, the relationship definitely, it got very strained, and it did get worse before it could get better because I didn't realize what I was doing. I was dissociating myself with my life because of the failure I felt like. I guess there's some kind of an unspoken, expectation when you have a child successfully once, that you're expected to be able to do it again. So as a woman, to not be able to do that job, that was quite hard on me, which is probably why I did keep it to myself. And then through the events of deceitfulness, not being honest with what was happening with me, it did just begun to be a lot of anger and resentment with me and my husband. So it did pull us away. And then that led me to feel that, how could I care for my son in the world when I can't even care for unborn children because I wasn't able to keep them? So it made me feel less of a mother, which is where that separation anxiety happened. So to find myself, I threw myself into books and university. And I guess it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was because I was trying to escape my reality and I guess make it a new one. So, through inspiring people, that definitely helped change my life around. Um, I think the turning point to me was when I wanted to take my own life. And I was standing there and I was just thinking, what is wrong with me? There are people in hospitals who are dying, who are sick, who, not sure if they're going to wake up tomorrow. And I'm here living, waking up every day, have a child, have good health. There's nothing wrong with me, yet I'm choosing to take my own life. So it was a very intense moment for me. And I realized at that point, I needed help. And that was the first step for me waking up, my self-awareness and getting better.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. And, one of the things that you talked about as well that I think it's important for all of us to just really sit and ponder on is that hitting rock bottom, and it looks different for everybody, but being able to come out of that and really pull yourself up, I mean, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of faith, a lot of prayer, and support. And just would love to learn from you. We may have women, I don't know everyone's story who's currently listening, but there may be some women too who are listening who are currently going through something right now where they feel like their life is bending them up a bit or breaking them. And sometimes with the therapy and the techniques and the practices, it's like, in theory, yeah, I'll do this. But then when it's actually time to dedicate your hard work, all the things that you learned to now do it in action when you're actually going through something, it can be really hard and tough. And sometimes our brains, our bodies, our minds, they revert back to what they have known for years and years. So, what would you share with someone who may be constantly in the fire right now and they are, crying for help, and maybe they have the tools and the resources, but they just aren't necessarily using them because their mindset is not there? What would you say to someone like that?
I think what I really had to learn through my own personal journey, and this is not to say that this will help other people, but something may work. I really had to give myself one of my chapters, which is called Permission to be Human. So I needed to give myself the grace to know that everyone moves at different paces. We're not all the same. So when it comes to awareness and realizing something's not right, the way I'm feeling, the way I'm acting, the way I'm disassociating myself with my own life, these aren't right things and I need help. But at the time, you may not know how to get it, or you may have the tools, but you may not have the ability to do it because you have so much doubt in yourself, or not even just, you might not even have the motivation to do anything about it. So I think just giving yourself that grace to know that, you are human, and when the time is right for you, you will know what to do. It definitely comes down to self-responsibility as well, knowing that unfortunately no one's coming to save us. We do need to save ourselves. We definitely have the support, we have the community, we have that there, but internally you're the only one who can truly change your future. And where you want to be, where you're going to be. And I guess the the pre-assessments that I have in my book would definitely help with clarity and reflection, to know, where you're at and where you want to be, and in between how we can get there together. Definitely no
Absolutely.
judgment there. So
Permission to be human. Thank you so
yeah.
much for sharing that. I have a question that's coming in. It says, trauma can shape your identity. How do you typically reclaim the parts you thought were gone?
I think this would come down to authenticity. So to reclaim the parts that you thought you were gone, you would basically need to love yourself wholeheartedly with everything, the good and the bad, because you have to realize that as we are growing, we're going through experiences that also shape us. And we may also be shaped by generational traumas that were never our beliefs. So through authenticity, we'd be able to see, was this my belief in the first place? Or did I pick it up from someone else? Was this a generational trauma that has nothing to do with my self beliefs and who I am as a person? So that's when you learn how to let go of something that's not true to you and to find something that aligns with your beliefs. And that definitely comes down to loving yourself wholeheartedly and realizing the truth of who you were, what shaped you as a person, and who you're going to be.
Absolutely. I have another one. It looks like, what would you say the real difference is between coping and healing? Ooh, that's a good one.
I think this would probably come back to the permission to be human. This is when you're not ready to move on. Everyone moves at their own pace. Everyone's journey is different. I definitely went through a lot of things before I was ready to heal, or before I was ready to even be made aware of what I was going through. Probably spent a good 10 years of my life in deep depression without even realizing it. And I guess it wasn't until friends were saying to me, hey, remember when we had this party? And I couldn't recall any detail of it. I was definitely shutting down on co-pilot throughout my life. So I would definitely refer that to coping mechanism and not living. And until you have that light bulb moment, something triggers you to wake up and say, there are gaps in my memory. What about this particular event that happened? Why did I leave it out? And then you'll be able to identify what's resonating with you, what's not in your true self, who you should truly be in order to love yourself fully, wake up and want to shift to that change to living.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so good. Okay, we're going to take one more question. One more question coming through is, how has motherhood reshaped your understanding of self-love and self-loss?
So, in relations to motherhood, I definitely, when I first had my child, my son, my firstborn, I put all my love and energy into that. And I remember when I had him crying on the phone to my mum saying, I can't believe how much you love me. This is just a whole nother level. Even turning to my husband and saying, wow, I thought I knew what love is, but I had no idea until I had my son. So it's a special kind of love, but I think being a mother, you do lose your self-identity in your children, and you put everyone else above yourself. So with that metaphor of, putting the mask on yourself, the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on others. Otherwise, if you're down, how are you meant to help everyone around you? So, and then me showing my children that I can love myself. And yes, after my first son and after my 3 miscarriages, I ended up having more children, by the grace of God. So I was very blessed, after going through, those traumatic experiences. I think that being a mother makes you aware of that you're a role model as well. So it just puts even that more motivation into me to be the best person that I can, live the most authentically that I can, and love myself above all. So my children know that they can do the same thing as well.
I love that. Oh, Alysha, thank you so much for sharing this. This has been beautiful. I'm super grateful for just the connection, you being able to share your story, your family's journey, and then also your book. Um, for us to just wrap up here, I would love for you to share with us, if anyone wanted to connect with you further and even learn more about your book, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so the book will be published on Monday, so in a few more days, which is really exciting. It will be available on Amazon. And I also do have a platform called Self Love Circle on TikTok, where I put down basically about myself and the skills that I've picked up along the way to help me, not in relation to just self love, but also in financial abundance and health. I'm a big health fanatic too. So I just want to put all of the things that I have learned in my life out there into the world to help other people. And some very exciting news too. We've just put through an unsolicited proposal to Department of Education in Australia. So we're hoping to make a child adoption for a trauma resource for children. So that's something that will be coming up in the works within the next 5 years.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. That is so incredible. Well, thank you so much for sharing. This has been fantastic. Again, if anyone wants to connect with Alysha further, I will drop all of her social media links in the description of this episode. And check out her book. Alysha, let me know when the book is published on Monday so we can add it to the description as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Vaya, and you have a lovely day. Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening.
You too.